Ndtv Hindu.
Welcome to We Connect. Thank you very much for joining us today. My guest here is Dr. R. Theyvendran. He's based in Singapore, where he's the Secretary General of the Management Development Institute in Singapore. He's here in our city on a very brief visit, and we're delighted to have him here with us today. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Now, let me say that you wear many, many caps, and I was wondering which of these different things that you're involved in brings you here to our country and our city.
Yeah. I'm more involved with the Management Development Institute of Singapore, and I spend about 60% of my time there, but it is more a voluntary job. I don't get paid, but I enjoy sharing and giving my management techniques and bringing along my business experience into this institute.
Right. So primarily, first, a businessman is who I'm talking to today.
Yes.
And then you are imparting of your experience to students?
To all sorts of facets, but primarily now is to the students, and to build up this institute into a regional icon.
Do you believe that management can be developed? Do you say that the traits that are peculiar to management can actually be fostered in students and in people?
Yes, I think you could develop students into management thinking, management styles. Some pick up faster, some take more time to evolve into all the management techniques we impart in them.
In the recent past, there have been many discussions, debates about the ethical side of management and how people can really be good managers by being good human beings first. And this has been, there's been some considerable debate in recent times about this. Now, do you believe, and tell me honestly, do you think that I can teach or you can teach somebody to be ethical?
We can teach people to be ethical, but it has to bring about the environment as well.
Yes, true.
Without the environmental discipline, they say that you can be a very good person, but if you mix around with the bad people, you automatically be dragged to be a bad person despite all the training you had in the past.
So one rotten apple really is what we're talking about.
Yes. So the environment support is important.
Right. May I ask, how many students do you have at your institute?
We have about 13,000 students.
That's a lot.
Yes, and 4,000 students coming from 72 countries.
Really? What do you believe attracts them to, first of all, to Singapore and then to your institute?
I think Singapore has reached the status of a developed country. The brand name is extremely excellent all around the world. People seem to know the brand name of Singapore. Of course, they also see the bad side, which we are totally disciplined country.
Very rigid, they say.
Very rigid. Yes, I agree with you. But sometimes in the formative years of nation building, you may have to have that sort of rigidity. Of course, now the government is trying to let go, allow more free play, because we were first concerned with materialism, how you build up the wealth of the country. Now that we have reached that stage, they have started to relax and allow people to be more outspoken. Of course, within certain parameters, they cannot instigate riots and what have you. And I suppose the governments of the world now have no choice with the internet, with a fast developing, fast changing global environment where connectivity is at a flick of a finger.
Right. That's true. Now, your institute itself, the one you're involved in, is 56 years old.
Yes.
Now, I'm just wondering, in the 56 years, have you seen a great many changes, say, in the way you approach studies, in the way they approach the various disciplines that are involved there? Have you found a sea change in the way going forward?
There is a lot of changes currently in the last 10 years. Initially, the institute was only focusing on supervisory management.
Right.
Because the country wanted more supervisors, they were going into manufacturing. So our institute followed the growth of the nation. So from there, in the 80s, started a vast change. It came in, they wanted more entrepreneurs. So far, we launched the entrepreneur program in line with business development. Then it went on to services. That's where we brought in the mass communication series from a very famous university, University of Oklahoma, from America.
Right, okay.
Then it moved on to IT. A lot of technology programs and what have you in that direction. From IT, we went on to the government felt to differentiate itself to launch into life sciences. So we had a life science program, biotech and pharmaceutical management, what have you, and we have a lab, a very big lab. Right. Then we went on to, from mass communication to life science. Life science, now we went on to finance. There are a lot of changes in the financial scene, currency fluctuations and what have you. The latest we have gone in is to try and match some of the developed countries like France, America. Fashion design seem to have kicked off.
So in point of fact, it's not really like, or would you say it's like a business school? Is that the way you would actually qualify your institute?
We would,
or no?
We feel that we run it like a business because without money, you cannot invest in a lot of things, and we want to be like an entrepreneur, so we don't depend on any government funds.
Right. But may I interrupt you here, sir,
sure.
please? I was really meaning that would you look at it as a business school? Is it what we call a business school? Because we have very many good business schools in our country.
No, each discipline, of course, primarily it's a business school, but there are other disciplines which we are trying to develop as parallel pillars to the business school.
Right. How many students do you have from India? Or have you had over the past many years?
Every year we recruit about 400 Indian students to Singapore. Yeah.
Do you believe that in this 56-year period that your institute has been in existence, business practices around the world have changed? I mean, you have very new players in the business world these days. You have China, for instance. You have India. You have lots of Southeast Asia that are coming to the top of the pile.
Yes.
So have you had to change to take care of all these new nuances, if that's the right word?
Yes. You have a lot of players now, more players coming in to challenge the countries which usually attract foreigners, like England, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US not very much. So, and more governments feel that education could be a pillar of the economic growth.
Right.
So many of them have announced that they want to share the economic pie or the international economic pie. But so how do we differentiate ourselves?
Right,
now in
how
Singapore,
do you? Yes.
Yeah, in Singapore we have a brand name and the environment is so efficient while in other countries there are a lot of red tapes, bureaucratic. You want to make any changes, so many regulations to comply.
Right.
We are eyeing India,
right,
but with all its regulations and we don't know where we are heading politically.
Right. I'm going to ask you to hold on for a very short while and come back. And when we get back, we will talk to my guest here today about how he views India. Does he see India as a location that he would like to actually come into? So please, you don't go anywhere.
Beautiful.
I hate you and I hate you.
Heramunda Timur Krovenkudava. Mudilanga.
First reel. வந்ததும் வருவதும் ஒரு ட்ரெய்லர் ஷோ திங்கள் முதல் சனி வரை தினமும் மாலை 5 மணிக்கு உங்கள் NDTV ஹிந்துவில்.
Welcome back to WeConnect. Thank you very much for staying right here with us on our program. Dr. R. Theyvendran is my guest here today. He's passing through from Singapore very briefly and agreed to talk with us. So we were talking about your institute looking at India as a possible next step.
Yes.
Do you see that ever happening?
We feel that now that once we've completed the Malaysian campus, we've just gone into Malaysia.
Okay, to Kuala Lumpur, is it? Or?
No, to Johor Bahru, which is
Johor Bahru,
about
yes.
8 minutes away.
To Singapore.
And now that we have, our capacity is full, although we're trying to expand it within, it'll be cheaper to go into Malaysia, which is the 8 minutes drive. In our radar is also India, which is, I think we should, with our quality standards, we should be able to come in and really bring about an institute which can make a difference. But the only problem we are now hesitating, our timeline will be in 2015. But the only problem is the stability of the political situation.
How would that make a difference to you in your institute?
Because where education is concerned, government regulations set in.
Okay.
The way you build your campus, the programs have to be cleared with them, and every turn of events, especially in education, they have a lot. I think there are a lot of regulations.
Right.
Furthermore, the coming in of the foreign investor. At one moment they say they're going to bring them in. Next moment there seems to be a debate, and the amendments to the Education Act have not got through.
We're talking here about stability of rules and regulations. Is that what we're talking about? Policy
stability
regulation
first of the government, of the political party,
yes.
The key player.
Yes.
Who would, if there's changes in the government, then changes come about with the regulations.
Right down the line.
Right down the line, and every now and then you got to change. You know, you don't know where you're heading, and even when you're already stabilized, there could be another government coming in and changing those regulations. So you keep on.
So you would see that as a slight issue. So what are the other countries you might look at then?
We are, at the moment, India is our goal because of the big critical mass, and because there is the literacy levels are very high. So the other area we are thinking of and closer to home is Indonesia.
Okay.
Right? But my preference, personal preference, is India. Sri Lanka is also another further away from our horizon. We think that the education scene is going to change because one of our very good partners, which is Grenoble, which is the 3rd ranking, they've already come with an exchange program with us. That means their students would get an exposure with us for 6 months attachment to learn the Eastern way.
Right.
You know.
Sure.
So if we have 4 campuses around, we could move our citizens, move our students to get familiar with different cultures and different situations.
Right.
You know.
Now, sir, earlier you were talking about the fact that you are trying to follow business patterns of various European countries,
yes.
Australia and various European countries, something in America.
Yes.
Do you actually then, having said that, bring in teachers and experts from these various countries to teach your students?
Yes.
You do that?
Some of the programs are fully taught by the
expert of that country.
Expert in the countries.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like this Grenoble, 8 of their lecturers come regularly during the year, and they again intermingle with our local lecturers. So in that program, you have 8 foreign lecturers and 4 local lecturers.
Right. You see that as absolutely necessary because of the global influence these days and the global business
the globalization
scenario.
And,
yes.
You know, the world is becoming very small.
Indeed it is, yes.
And we are preparing our students not for the Singapore market, not for the Indian market.
For the global
we
market.
prepare them for the global market. And indeed, some of our students are already working in United Nations agencies. They are working in Africa. And sometimes when I meet the students, I ask them, how do you get these jobs? They say they go to the internet, flash their biodata.
That's true.
And that's how they...
When you think about India as a possible destination sometime, maybe in the distant future, you're going to be up against pretty stiff competition within our own country because in India we do have some very high level and very well-known business schools.
Yes.
How do you view the competition in India?
competition is in every field.
Healthy, if it's healthy, it's good.
If it's healthy, we can make it healthy as well. We could be the movers, right? And once you have a reputation, especially when we have a Singapore brand name with its reputation, more parents would want to send to schools, or there is a cream or a margin of people who want to really get quality education with exposure to the world.
Right. What do you think about the Indian students that you have had going through over the years and the ones you have now? What do you think about the level, the caliber of our Indian students?
All right. Earlier, the Indian students were more domiciled, were very compliant, a lot of people, learning from their, following what the parents say.
Okay, obedient.
Right? Very obedient, they look like a typical Singaporean, right?
Right.
But now I see the Indian students are more vocal, more, when they come in, they're more nationalistic, they keep themselves in cliques, and they are not afraid to ask.
It's very interesting you say that, because over the years in India, we have sometimes been accused of actually having our students just learn by rote and not actually being ready to question a teacher or, clear their doubts. So do you really find that you did say that that's the case?
I think maybe...
things changing?
Things are changing because when they come to Singapore, I haven't mingled with them here. Although after they graduate, I've seen some of the students, they feel very confident, very poised. But when they come there, they're very, I think they've climatized with the environment where they are probing, where they are asking, and our lecturers interact with them. The olden day of one-way traffic, that means the lecturers talk down to the students and the students would just have to follow.
That's a time gone by.
Gone by.
That's for sure,
yes.
right?
So now they are asking, they are probing, and if the lecturers try to mess around with wrong answers, they will write straight to us.
Right.
And the email is...
I know, the email is an amazing thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you view, when you talk about Indian students, how do you actually believe that you can get them to come to your institute? I mean, just by me reading on the internet about your institute, about what it does, etc., sometimes, and I don't say this lightly, that sometimes on the internet we don't necessarily get the true picture of what we're wanting to learn about.
Okay, the Indian students nowadays, more and more of them, are really getting smarter with budget airlines. They come there and physically see the environment. We show them around. We show them the various workshops. We have the engineering workshop. We have the fashion design workshop. Most of the 7 disciplines have their own workshop, and we invest quite a lot of money in it. Then we differentiate the campus because it's sparkling clean, one. Number 2, we in the last 6 years, we've been changing, right? The front block, the entrance block used to be a 2-story block. Now it's going up to be a 6-story block. We are building up, optimizing space. The previous year, we also had a hostel built in-house to make it easier for the students, for the foreign students. And parents feel safe, especially where girls are concerned.
Yes, right.
They feel safe that we have a campus within and they not easily go wayward.
Right.
Of course, we push them to try and move away from the Indian crowd and move with the Chinese and all the others who come in.
The multi-racial whole nature. I'm going to come back, sir, after a very short break. And I'm going to ask you about costs involved, because surely that's a very important thing.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere, please, because we'll be right back with you here on WeConnect.
எதிர்பாராத நிகழ்வுகள், விளையாட்டு, உலகத்தின் லைஃப் ஸ்டைல், பிரமிப்பூட்டும் தொழில்நுட்பங்கள், திரை உலக அனுபவம், உங்கள் வரவேற்பறையில் உலகம் நித்தம் 360 டிகிரி உலகத்தை சுற்றி தினமும் மாலை 5:30 மணிக்கு NDTV ஹிந்துவில் மட்டும்.
So, sir, here you've got some interracial romancing going on.
We, of course, try to indirectly intervene.
You can't stop that.
We could by making it mix around with more more ladies' activities. So probably we try to do our. We're quite strict on dress code and all that. We wanted to intervene in this, but my counsel said we are going a bit too far. So I laid back. I was more worried for the parents, you know. But I think generally the Indian students, when they come out, they are more confident, and we have a program known as the MDIS Experience, where we teach them how to prepare their biodata the way the globe requires, the global situation requires. We tell them how to speak up at interviews, because it's no point of having a good
the knowledge, the theoretical knowledge,
the certificate, and what have you. And when you go to an interview, we find that many of our students were not able to speak up, were not able to project themselves, although their IQs are quite high. So we have this, what we call the MDIS experience, and it's compulsory.
Right.
So how to prepare biodata, how to attend talk at interviews.
More practical, I'm seeing from what you're saying, a lot of very practical stuff.
Yes, and we give them a holistic approach. We also drive value system to the point that we drive the parents are the instruments of God.
Right.
And so we get this value system in it, and the environment in our institute backs this.
Right.
You know, what is taught could, retention power could be 20%. But we have statues of family statues of fathers holding their child, all these statues. We spend quite a lot of money so that the environment supports the teaching which carries on.
Right. No interview would be complete without asking you about actual costs, because at the end of the day, I mean, and I by no means am I promoting or being an advertisement for your institute here,
Sure.
but I do want to ask, how expensive would it be for an Indian parent to actually send a child there? Why should I not send my child to somewhere within India in terms of cost?
Okay. An undergraduate program over a 3-year period is anywhere between 10 lakhs to about 12, 13 lakhs.
Quite a lot.
Yes, but if you're going to send your child over to England, I think we are about half the cost.
So you are looking at yourself as an alternative when it comes to going abroad. Do you need to go to the US or Europe or England, and therefore why not to Southeast, why not to Asia?
Why not to Singapore, where you have a mix of the East and the West?
Okay.
We are in the center.
That's an interesting placement of your institute.
So you have the Western culture, you have the Western educational system, as well as the Eastern
value system. That's very interesting,
So we make a difference in that way.
Okay.
And the environment supports the difference. So we are different in many ways, and that's why within the last 10 years we've really grown.
Right. So I think that would be quite an attraction. I can see that. Now, apart from your whole involvement in this education, you're also into a lot of other things, cultural and social activities as well. You were saying to me that that's something that's really close to your heart. Let's talk about that.
Right. I think I have enough wealth. As a businessman, I made the wealth, and I thought that what are we in this world for? I've had a brother who was a very famous senior lawyer. When he died, he had a lot of money as well. But as the coffin moved into a crematorium, into the furnace, his money did not follow him.
True.
And now his money is being spent by his wife and his 3 children and all that. So I thought that, okay, enough of wealth. Why don't we do something which would make me stand out in the crowd?
So what is it that you're doing then? You represent a lot of organizations, right?
Yes, I don't know much of Tamil, but when they invited me to be the leader of the Tamil community, I went, and this is my 11th year. As the leader of the Tamil committee, we make representations to the government on Tamil issues. I'm also, they invited me to be, when nobody wanted to take over this challenge of rebuilding the temple. You know, the temple, every 12 years we have to rebuild it. And it was 4 years overdue. And they asked me, I said, look, I don't know anything about the gods, because I pray to my parents, you know.
Right.
I believe in parental worship. And therefore, finally I was persuaded to accept it. They said they'll help me in the religious matters. And so when we wanted to rebuild this temple, I said, I would like to make a difference. So they said, why do you just renovate? It will cost you 500,000, and that would suit the community's needs. I said, no, it must stand out. So today we have the Lord Vinayagar Temple, which is, you would know, it's the first god of worship in the Hindu mythology. And therefore the temple is now completely different. It's different in many ways. It stands out in the world as one of the icons,
in
yes,
that respect.
That's what I'm trying to do. And people talk about it, including the president of Singapore.
Right.
And
you're on first name basis with him, right?
Yes.
Aren't you?
No, he seems to have.
So does this take you towards politics?
No, I would never want to go into politics, although at one time I dabbled in the union and got myself burnt in Singapore.
So you decided not to, right? Stay away.
No, not because of that. I've never been a politician. I'm more a person who would maybe an activist on human rights.
Okay, right.
That would be the person, but not in politics.
Right. One final question.
Yes.
Now you represent 36 organizations.
Yes.
And surely it's a bit of a tough call, because when you're looking at different social and cultural organizations, a little difficult.
Well, it's just managing your time and you're persuading the people to the way you think. And if they are right or the majority feel the other way, then I would probably assimilate them.
Right. Well, you're obviously very good at managing your time. For instance,
Yes.
to give us of your time today, we know that you're here for a very short while. And I'd like to thank you so very much indeed.
Very much for the
thank you
wonderful
so
interview.
much indeed. Well, it's been great that you could join us here on We Connect. And we're really happy to have you with us on this program every single week. So until the next time, you take care. Bye for now.